Hey guys, welcome back, or should I say welcome me back, since I didn't post anything last week and I'm really sorry, but I went to Seoul for 2 days. I got to visit my international sister and I got to be a sightseer. And were there so many sights to see, I'm not even sure I'm done. Like, Seoul is more than a 2-day trip, that's at least a week to see at least most of the stuff that's there. It was very phenomenal though. Anyway, by the time I came back on the bus on Sunday night, it was 11 p.m. and I knew I wasn't going to be able to make you a good video. So instead of making a video, I thought I'd wait till the next day, and then I got really busy all week, and now here we are. So let's get started. We're going to talk about John chapter 12, where we have Judas criticizing Mary. Now, it's super easy to criticize somebody when you think you've got a better idea, especially if you have selfish motives, just like Judas did. Now, the reason why he's criticizing Mary is because she took a really expensive perfume bottle that obviously had perfume in it. She dumped it over Jesus' feet and used her hair. Stop for a second here. She used her hair. I would have grabbed a cloth. But anyway, she used her hair to lather it over Jesus' feet. And Judas is thinking, and does verbally tell Jesus, that she should have sold it and then she could have used the money for the poor. And in reality, what he's really thinking is, if she had sold it, I could have lined my pockets with some of that money. But Jesus, of course, knew this, and instead of calling him out though and saying that he's selfish, he does tell him this, that the poor will always be here, but I will not be. Now, he's just foreshadowed his death again, like he's been doing in the last 11 chapters. I can't even imagine having somebody that I know being able to foreshadow that they're gonna die. And then they tell you this, but you think they're just speaking metaphorically, that, you know, the world's all going to crap, so they're gonna spiritually or not physically die, but just like spiritually and emotionally they're dying with it or something. But Jesus is taking this all the way to a physical death, and they just didn't realize that he was not speaking metaphorically, as he was prone to do sometimes, but he was actually speaking in reality. So we're actually going to jump forward as well. Now we go from Mary pouring the perfume on Jesus' feet, and we're going to go to his triumphant ride into the city. This is right before the Passover. But when do you think triumphant? Wouldn't you think like a stallion, a couple of carriages, a bunch of guards, maybe even a band of some sort? Just to really announce that you're coming in and that you own the place. But instead of Jesus coming in as though he is ruler of all, which he is, in case we haven't clued into that yet, he comes in on a donkey. Like, one of the most humble things I think he could have chosen. That he could ride. There's many other things that he could have chosen, but you can't ride a pig. Not easily anyway. So he goes in riding on a donkey, and people are taking the palm branches and they're putting them down for him to come to have the donkey go over. This is where you have like Palm Sunday. P.S. for anyone who didn't clue into why we said Palm Sunday, you know, before Easter happened. So this is really cool. All the people are accepting him. He is like superhero material right here. But it doesn't last long. And isn't that the hardest thing to know? Like, he knew this was coming. Like, he knew he's going to come riding in on a donkey, that everyone's going to be cheering his name, calling him out, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. But he also knew that they were going to turn on him. And especially one of his own. So if we continue along, like that's in chapter 13 for the Passover, and we continue along into there, we're going to notice that he actually tells his disciples at their little dinner table that one of them is going to betray him. Of course, everyone's like looking around going, I don't know about you, but I'm awesome and I would never betray him. And even Judas is doing the same idea, and Jesus even says, it is the man who I share my bread with, or dip in the same bowl with my bread. And then only moments later, he and Judas dip at the same time. You would think that would be like a flashing red light, hello? he just basically told you it's him. And nobody noticed because even Jesus said to him, go and do what you have to do and do it quickly. They all just assumed that he was talking about the money because that's what Judas was. He was the money holder. But he had just moments before dipped with the same bread, dipped at the same time as Jesus. And still nobody clued into it. I can't even imagine. It's the biggest sign out there. Either way, doesn't matter. Judas goes off because we all know where he's going. He's gonna go tell the Pharisees, guys, it's time. Hand me my money. Because that's all he was in it for, right? He was just that selfish that he was gonna sell out a friend. But at the same time, I don't know if he was really that selfish. Because God predicted and had it written in the Bible that Jesus would be betrayed by one of his own. So God had to make it so. Jesus had to be betrayed by one of his own. It had to happen. And I actually feel bad for Judas in a sense, because that's a crappy card to pull out of a deck to be the betrayer of Jesus. It's a short straw for sure. Now, I'm going to move into John chapter 14. And here we're going to talk about, he's trying to tell them, don't worry, that one day they'll get to join him. But he's also telling them at the same time that at this point in time, he's going somewhere that they cannot follow. And they're all thinking, you're going on a vacation without us? Like, come on, man, hook us up. We come. But he's trying to tell them that he's going to go to heaven, basically. And they can't follow him right now. But later, they will get to join him. Isn't that amazing? To get told by God himself, like, man, I'm gonna see you later. I'm gonna die on that cross and I will see you later. That's really cool. I wish he would just tell me things straight up. Just like that. Like, you know, on daily life things. Don't turn that way, turn the other way. Or, you know, you should leave now. Traffic's gonna be really bad. Just, you know, those basic things that we have really hard times with. So, they know, and he also wants them to know that they're going to know the way to get to him. Even though they don't know it right now, they will know the way later. I think what he's saying half the time is really confusing for them, because Jesus is speaking about far into the future, something that they have no idea is coming. So I am impressed by them being able to stick with him, even though he's always speaking in future terms, as well as sometimes terms that they just don't understand, and I wouldn't understand either. But he does make one promise to them, among all the other promises he's already promised them. You know, I'll meet you in heaven kind of thing. But he makes another promise that when he leaves, he's going to send an advocate, somebody who's going to help them through everything that they're going through now. And I think that's amazing. They don't realize it at this point, but it's the Holy Spirit that's going to come down on them when they have to finally say goodbye to Jesus. So he's trying to say that he's not really leaving them. It's just another part is coming, instead of him completely being just gone from their lives. And he even tells them, like, he is the gardener, that they must bear fruit or they will burn. Oh, this is the hardest passage to understand, I think, sometimes, because you're thinking, if I don't bear fruit, I die. And it's kind of what he's saying. He's kind of saying, use your gift or you lose it. So use it or lose it. And for them, still, I don't think they quite understand, and I wouldn't either, because I'm still stuck on the fact that you just talked about going on vacation without me. And it also means that they can't live in both worlds. They can't be of the secular world and of the godly world at the same time. They are polar opposite places, and they just cannot coexist. And even today, we have a problem with that. We can't coexist, and we really, really want to, because it would just be easier. Trust me, I know. I've tried. It doesn't work. You end up feeling like you're being pulled apart at the seams. It sucks. So he warns them that they must stay on the path, even though it's going to be difficult. And he even tells them, you are going to be hated by the world. Man, if he told me I was gonna get hated by everybody, I would be second guessing my decision right there, because I don't like it when people don't like me. Or at least I didn't. Now I really don't care. But when I was younger, that's how it felt. I felt that everybody needed to like me. So if he had told me that at that point in time in my life, I would have been like, peace, I'm gonna go get liked by the world and you can have your little hatred bubble over there, away from me. So either way, he warns them and they're gonna face it. And then we move into John 16. Wow, I know, we just jumped from 12 to 16. So this one is very simple. Throughout this entire chapter, it's really cool to see that first he prays for himself, second he prays for his disciples, and third he prays for believers. And I like it though that he's taken the time to pray for them so that they can feel that he's not going to leave them, you know, high and dry. And then in chapter 18, Jesus is finally arrested. And of course we know who led the Pharisees and the guards to him. Judas. And it would be the hardest thing. I don't know how he went through with it. I feel like if I was Judas, I'd get there and be like, oh darn, Jesus isn't here, and then just send them away. But he goes through with it. He presents Jesus to him, and Jesus is taken away. Now, before he was taken away, he did tell Peter a little secret about what's going to happen in the future. He told him that he will deny him 3 times. And Peter, obviously being the godly man that he was, and the very much Jesus freak, I suppose, the first Jesus freak of his time, was very much, no, I would never deny you. And then that night, when the rooster crowed, by the time it did, he had denied him 3 times and said that he didn't even know him. We do that sometimes, don't we? We have this big declaration that we are Christians. We get baptized, we go to church, we pray, we read our Bible, but when we step out into the world and we have to say who we stand with, we freeze. Or we just don't choose. And we try to play it off like, oh, does it really matter? Does it? Like, whatever. See you guys later. So we decide to not be Jesus freaks when really we should be. We should be out there in the streets yelling out Jesus' name. Please don't actually do it. It was a joke. But we shouldn't be ashamed of our faith. And I think it was good for Peter to learn that. He learned it right at the very beginning. So later, after Jesus was going to leave, he was going to be so ready to never deny him again and actually speak out for Jesus on his behalf many times, no matter what he faced. So one little moment of time that felt like he hurt Jesus a little bit saved him from making a bigger denial later. Because at that point, it was just a little denial. It's just to a few people. But later, it could have been to a multitude that he denied Jesus. So instead of having that possibility of a multitude, he denied him to a few instead of to a lot. So I think, like, in the long run, it helped him out. And I think God does that sometimes to us. He lets us stumble at the little stumbling blocks, so when we get to the hurdles, we can jump them with at least some grace and poise. And then we're gonna move into chapter 19. I promise this is the last chapter for today. But I felt really bad that I didn't give you guys a chapter last week, or a couple of chapters last week. So chapter 19, Jesus meets Pilate. Now, Pilate is basically the high and mighty guy from the Roman Empire. He does a lot of the judging. Does this person really deserve to be persecuted? Does he really deserve to die? And when Pilate met Jesus, the only thing that he found wrong with Jesus is that he just stepped on a few Pharisees' toes. And they're just upset and a little huff about that. So he even goes to them and said, there's nothing wrong with him. I can't condemn him. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, they want him crucified. And all the people are shouting now. Instead of shouting his name, Jesus, Jesus, they're shouting, crucify, crucify. So it's really hard. And Pilate just thought, okay, If I just have them beaten a little bit, maybe they'll be satisfied. So Jesus was flogged and brought out with a purple robe. Dumb idea, dumb idea, because these people were already angry, especially when Pilate mentions, here's the king of the Jews, Jesus of Nazareth. Now they're livid, and now they really do want him dead. They have the option of choosing to set free a prisoner too, because the Passover is coming. So there's the option between Jesus, who has done nothing wrong but actually done miracles and helped and saved and healed people, or a murderer. You know, that's a really difficult decision. I would totally go for the murder, and that's exactly what the Jews did. They wanted Jesus dead so badly they were willing to set free a murderer in order to keep Jesus on the track for crucifixion. I don't even understand. How could you choose somebody who's murdered people in cold blood, let him go free because, you know, what's the worst he could do? Kill another person? We'll just catch him again. It's alright, whatever. Either way, their hearts are so closed, and they have to be closed. And then you get to the point where Jesus had to carry his own cross, and on top of his cross says, Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews. To fulfill the prophecy, they cast lots for his clothes, just like the Bible had said. Jesus tells Peter to take care of his mother, and his mother to do vice versa. And then he thirsts for water, and they give him vinegar water on a sponge. All of this is to line up with everything that was written in the Bible. And then at the very end, they pierced his side, and just water came out, showing that he had indeed died. In other books of the Bible, like Matthew, Mark, and Luke, they tell the story again as well, each adding their own different details to the situation. But in John, this is all that's told about what happened. They didn't break his legs, as the Bible said they wouldn't. And then, in secret, we can welcome back Nicodemus and Joseph, not Jesus' dad, different Joseph, because there's a lot of them. They take him off the cross, and they take him to Joseph's family burial tomb, and they lay him in there to rest. And it's just, people are rejoicing because they just killed someone. But people are also very sad because they know who they killed. And in order to do all this, the whole prophecy was just completed. So that's a very sad note to leave it on, but we're gonna stop there, and I suggest that you go and you read through chapter 13 to 19 and really understand it even better for yourself. And if you have any questions, you know, leave a comment below. I will get back to you, and if I miss anything important, again, you can leave a comment below and I will recap on it next week. Alright, see you guys.